Namaste. Here I am in my closet again, and trying to see. I can't really get this much lighter right now. Um, and I was going to speak a little bit more about the symptoms of kundalini because it's really hard to get it all in. And I feel like I may have left some out in the last couple, and I still will because it's just really the list can go on and on and on. But first of all, I was going to turn you around and let you have a peek at my closet. So let's see, we'll turn around and I've got the Kali wall hanging back there. You can see all the skulls around her neck. And then the Shiva picture in the back with Ramana. And Guruji's picture is right behind that light with the Shakti fire. Here's my best thing. I'm going to turn you around. And Guruji's picture over there, more Ramana. So it's just a nice little place to be, I feel. Maybe if I plug this in, it will have a little more light. Let's see here. Okay, might have helped a little bit. So I did write down some of the symptoms just because as we go through, it's always hard to really remember it all. And let's see, so some of the things, a few other things that happened, and this was more preliminary symptoms, and this was before meeting Guruji actually. And I've had this since I was young, where I'm just trying to get more light, but we're just going to have to deal with it. Where the floor started feeling like it was waving, and this happened more in my preteen years, and then it felt like someone had just pulled the floor right out from under me and then replaced it, as well as a rumbling feeling in my chest, like an earthquake feeling, trembling. And also, when it really opened up in full, I was laying in, let's see what my water is. I thought I brought it in. But when I was laying down and there was a lot of phenomena that came up, something else that came up was really, it felt like a full life review. And all of the actions that had been done since I was very young, even from kindergarten, many actions came up to be looked at. And a lot of what we do in the very beginning is we go through an inventory like that of what is needed to be let go of and what one needs to ask for forgiveness for. Sometimes you need to go back directly to that person and request forgiveness and apologize, or that's, if, many times it's so long ago and it's over with, but, we still need to ask for forgiveness from grace or our hearts or Christ, whatever is in there to clear those experiences or energies that have been lodged in there, many times lay there that when we're unaware, because they do come forward again. And this was quite a surprise to me to see all this come forward right in consciousness, just a full review. And a lot of it, many times we don't have to go back and apologize for every little thing, that's for sure. But what it's doing is, look at this. This is a choice you made, and there were repercussions from that. Take a look, and hopefully, as you're looking, you have more of clarity to really see. But also, some of it, is something to just let go of completely, and sometimes it's just that it's a frivolous thing, or it's something that you've been carrying around that really is a pointless thing. So it does take some discrimination to look at this and see what is it I need to clear from my life what is it I need to ask for forgiveness for. And certainly along the way, there's many times when we need to ask for forgiveness and just keep asking for it. I didn't know I did that particular thing wrong, and I didn't know, or I didn't mean to, and now please, having that focus of opening your heart and moving forward. So a full life review. Um, and also, there was a lot of spontaneous energy work where the kriyas would be happening and the hand would just go to the throat or to the ears or to the eyes or to the mouth or the hands, the heart, and just all over. Sometimes, for the most part on your own self. Sometimes it happens with others. This is just, something that can happen sometimes. But it's part of that energy has its own intelligence, and really it knows where to go to clear things. And this has really taken place for many years with clearing, and you don't even know what that's about or exactly what's needed. But that energy, that pure energy, that intelligence really does, if you'll just relax and let that come forward. Which doesn't mean everything is going to be healed easily. There was a time when I had a lot of pain prior to meeting Guruji. I mean, it was really full body pain. And, when I do talk about my experiences, for the most part, I'll be honest, I play it down. I never embellish it. I just, I'm not out here to scare anyone, but certainly we need to speak the truth as well. And it comes out more subdued, but that's okay. Maybe it'll be different later. I don't really know. And there was a lot of pain with debilitating depression, and this pain came, and it was full body pain where I had a hard time even walking and getting up and doing everything. But when the spontaneous yoga moves came, they really took care of every bit of pain that was in there. And pain came again, but it was kind of amazing how that happened. A side benefit of all that, which I certainly was very happy to take, but it's part of it. And also with this energy, and now for whatever reason, there's other physical things that have had a lot of clearing there, and it's kind of waved in for the most part, being very stubborn and not totally dislodged itself yet, but there's a lot of spontaneous healing there. So that is, spontaneous energy work, and sometimes healing is a better way to put it. Spontaneous clearing for your own form. So that was another symptom, particular manifestation. And I did speak about the lights, the auras, the hearing the nod sound, which can be very varied, where people can hear birds chirping, or I've heard bees buzzing, clapping, popping, hissing, ringing. And that can be, in the beginning, boy, that was pronounced, and it's startling to just be walking, and sometimes just a boom or a bang, and you could hear so loudly, which is just really accessing different parts of consciousness at that time. But many times this would come with seeing colors and things, and again, very disconcerting, very, at least for here, unsettling, because it not just was that as a separate thing, it was everything at once that came here in a flood. It's not like, okay, I got this, now I got this little thing. It can really be all at once as well. So and here too, especially after meeting Guruji, what was amazing, and we didn't have iPhones then to record things, although I think there is one recording of when I was really heavily into this, with the mantras really flowing out as well as the kriyas. But there was a lot of spontaneous verbalizations, and this consisted of mantras in Sanskrit that had meaning. I mean, that could be looked up, and there was a meaning to it. It wasn't something that some gibberish or whatever, it really made sense. And so there was that, as well as a lot. And this went on for a good 10 years, and it flowed and it flowed and it flowed, really not too much of a break. Anytime that I was alone or I was meditating, not just alone, it was even in the groups when we were meditating. And it would just flow forward, and some of it sounded just very, very beautiful. It was songs and discourses. I don't know, but I didn't understand it all at all, and some of it, I needed to look up. I mean, I really didn't understand what was being said, and then Guruji explained some of it to me as well. One of the words that still can flow here and there, not near as much, thank goodness, as what was happening for those 10 years, literally. It's Mauna or Muna, Mouna, and that does mean stillness. That means silence. And that word came up a lot. I mean, Brahman, Ma came up a lot. Kali, just, and again, when you're just saying it, you can barely get it out. But as it flows, it comes out in this stream of language that's has a beauty to it, but yet it's also, another phenomena that can be very ungrounding, and, it just continues there. And it didn't seem to want to stop, and fortunately I can say that, it still does blip up at times. So it's not totally unwound yet, and I think that's what these things do as they go along. They begin to unwind. And what I noticed too with the Kriyas and the spontaneous verbalizations, it would at times be stilling. It would at times bring a different awareness, many times, because that would tend to break apart certain knots in the form and in the consciousness that brought about a different awareness and brought one to, a different level. And so just interesting in the way that plays out. So that was another. And then I have explained the visions, which were begin to really open up prior to meeting Guruji. And like I say, with these, I had the nod, I had the kriyas, I had the, spontaneous verbalizations, I had the pain, I had the depression, it just all would flow in and out in one, not, it's kind of a symphony of kundalini symptoms flowing through, sensitivities. And that was, just mentioning that the senses become so acute that one is can see, hear, taste, smell things so acutely. It's really, especially at first. I mean, I literally needed to sit in a chair and plug my ears and cover up my, my whole head. I just sort of sat there in a ball because even the sound of the traffic was kind of like, you had this tight string and it was, and it also felt like it just engulfed you. Something that was way across the street felt like it was right there. Like, wait a minute, I was okay with this for 5 years, and now all of a sudden it really is something else, and it does fry the nerves at many times. So one just has to be with that and keep breathing through it. And those acute senses have returned again since these messages and all the visions came forward. I used to be okay with certain scents and odors and incense and perfumes, and now, I mean, I literally get nauseous, and it's just something else to deal with. So acute senses is the other one, and with this, oftentimes, and again, I can only express with my own journey that I had a lot of illnesses, and interestingly enough, certainly not fun to live with, but I had, asthma really bad as a child, and had to go into the hospital a lot, or we'd have to skip it if we were going to do something. Not that our family, I sometimes when I describe my family, I have to laugh because we weren't like a regular family. I mean, there was a lot of chaos there, and there was nothing that one could say was a spiritual family that could stand out. I mean, not even one iota. I'm laughing because there were a lot of absurd things. This was a crazy, wild experience and very traumatic too. That's a whole nother ball game. But my mom would talk a little bit about Christ, and she enjoyed church, so I went a little bit. That was it. It wasn't like I attended church all through my 20s or anything like that. She didn't push it, so it wasn't like we were not even close, a real spiritual type of family. But it just that I was really the one that was kind of, pushed as a sickly one, I guess. Just a lot of, illnesses. And what came along the way, too, for me was when illnesses would come, a lot of these symptoms would come up with these illnesses, and then there'd be a lot more opening to just a bizarre thing. And that continued to happen. So we've got that, and then we've got perceptual shifts. With that, one can feel like you're really tall in one moment, you're really small one moment, you're really wide one moment, you're male, you're female, you're, another person that not yourself, you're, these kinds of perceptual shifts, as well as shifts in awareness, of things expanding, things contracting, things feeling like they're being burst up, and um, just these little bits. I mean, all sorts of things like that, or just disappearing, coming back again. When you hear your voice, is it someone else speaking? Is it me? Just these things are nonstop as well. So really, it is literally like being on an LSD trip. Okay, I don't know why people do that, by the way, acid or LSD, because it's like, why would you want to put yourself through that? That's so cool. Look at that flower. I'm one with it, and it's so bright and red. Well, that's what I'm dealing with every moment. So, I don't get that at all. But boy, just these things come naturally, really. So, perceptual shifts and acute senses. Okay. And then, after meeting Guruji, there was, I think there's something else I was going to say, but not coming. Um, so visions begin to happen before, and literally it's like a window open. You're just looking into this other world. And again, what is seen is not always a pretty thing, but, for the most part, they've been really stunning things. But it's still, you're lost in that. And it's, you gotta get up and get moving. So it's really like navigating at times two different realms, with the one that's very mystic and mystical being much more primary than the other. I mean, I have to say that's really been the way it's been all along. So, visions after. So, meeting Guruji, there were shifts. I mean, the consciousness becomes more fluid. Um, that's a really major one, with that ego liquidating. It just starts beginning to run like fluidity to it. It's not this solid, I'm this person, and, the world is this way, and you know who you are. I mean, it starts feeling this is, just a fluidity there, with a stream of manifestations. And so the shifting began to happen right away. And some of the visions after that began to happen, and maybe even the first year, I don't remember, but it was more of buildings burning, buildings being destroyed, and just being pummeled and falling to the ground. And snakes, fires, churches burning, mountains crumbling and falling into the ocean. And I'm looking over because I have written some things down because it was so much. It's hard, just to get it all out. Um, and then the ocean many times, and these things were vivid. And when I say vivid, you can only describe it if you've seen it yourself. It was beyond anything in that you see in the regular world, far beyond, really. So so up close and personal and crystal clear is the best description that I have for these visions. And really, what that is just showing those solid ideations and concepts and ideas of who you think, what you think you are, what you think the world is being destroyed, and it's all got to go. It's all got to go. Um, and also looking up at these jutting mountains and just seeing some light coming through. Sometimes that would close up and then it would open and there'd be a light filtering through, more shafts of light and then closing again. And, that I saw for a good 10 years. I may have even saw blips of it recently, so it's not a steady progressive thing. And certainly being on this path 16 years, this takes a while. It takes a while. You really have to be in it for the long haul. So that was some of the visions after snakes. I think I mentioned that. Those were in a lot of dreams, visions. Um, and But dreams are another thing to mention. They always have been with me very, very, very symbolic, and I've had very vivid ones. But some of the symbols in the dreams, one of them is vehicles, the body being a vehicle. And sometimes I would leave my car places. I couldn't find it anywhere. And I'd be looking for it. Or another one that was interesting, I wasn't driving, but I was in a car in the back seat, and there was no one driving the car, and yet we were getting around so beautifully, and it's more that grace, is that pure intelligence is the one navigating. I was just in the back seat, like, wow, how is this being done? And that's also letting go of that control, take a back seat to it, not be the driver, although some of them I was the driver and then I was in the back seat. It had that play to it, which was interesting. So cars are a huge theme that I found for years. And when I'm saying years, I'm talking, 14, 10 years of having those kinds of dreams. And then there were dreams of flying. Another one that was interesting was, I'm trying to not use my glasses, but I think I will for a minute. There we go. That helps so much, Anyway, like I'd be in a room and in the dream, and then the doors would not have a lock on it, which, we have that protection that we want to, I guess, self-protection, or have the shell around us, or, this is our individual self. And when I woke up, I would be sleeping in the dream and then wake up. And when I looked, I had not locked the door, or there wasn't a door on the house that I was in, or one wall was gone, or two walls were gone, and this continued this way of showing that protection, or that ego, or whatever is in there that always wants to pull back and protect yourself, was beginning to dissolve. So flying, and then pools, a lot of dreams of pools, like the pools of consciousness and that kind of thing. But that's a lot of it, and certainly there's so much it couldn't even be mentioned. That has come along the way. But also, in terms of some of the shifts after meeting Guruji, it was, there was just blips of stillness before, so brief, you know, a lot of deeper shifts, deeper levels of awareness, quietude, stillness, spontaneous movements, and time changing. Since time is more a mind made thing, just the time element was a very, really startling with her, because sometimes it felt like just a second and it had been a full day, or it felt like a full day and it really had been 3 minutes, and that, or just sitting here, maybe like sitting here, then you're in another room and you don't remember how you got to that room. What took place in between? Who knows? How did you get here? I don't know. So, memory changes, and, all of this fluid phenomena that just, continued to gush out like a river. There was, for about the 5 years prior to these messages that have come out, a period where there were not as many visions. And that's another story on how that came forward. But I did want to put out more what what these symptoms are, and many times it can be opened in such a variety of ways, and really to not, unless you're really serious, don't play with this thing. Don't, to desire. I've just never desired it. I didn't know what it was. So, certainly if you desire freedom, whatever comes, comes, but it's definitely nothing to get into unless you really feel like you're committed to knowing, that pure self, to knowing what God is, and at the core. I guess this is finishing for now. So, okay, thank you for listening. Have a beautiful day. Namaste. Bye.